intelligent, extremely, you know, capable people, and they actually know what society values. They have TE, so TE is external logic, so they know what kind of, you know, a life they should be having at a certain age, or what kind of, you know, things. They're perfectly aware of these social norms, even from a rational point of view, much more than we are, for example. Although sometimes we are actually more kind of, let's say, we behave more according to norms, but it's more like our FE. But they really are aware of, you know, how we actually come. They're more aware how we come across society than we are, you know, because we do things out of our own beliefs and rather than, you know, to please other people. But they're even more aware of how we come across, you know, what people, when they just, you know, they read your CV, what they would say about you, you know, we are not even aware of that. So they are extremely capable, extremely aware of what the success is. You know, some ENFPs can even, I read it somewhere, can even be a little like materialistic. I wouldn't say they're materialistic, but because society values these things, there's just this awareness more than for INFJs and, for example, ENFJs, there's this awareness of what society values. So yeah, I wouldn't say that there is much conflict here, but rather a beneficial kind of relationship, because again, they make you more open, and you make it more focused. So I don't think there's a lot of differences here. Then we come to these middle functions, which are actually for them FI, for us FE, and then for them TE, and for us TI. So these functions, so they're the same in terms of we both value more our feelings than our like logics. Usually, so I'll usually know how it goes. They are people who are, although they're not as emotionally expressive as INFJs, because for, you know, for extrovert feelings, it's more this bubbly kind of thing that just comes and goes. It's not really, it doesn't really run as deep as FI, just like, you know, external logic doesn't really run as deep as TI, but that's why these introverted functions need more time to build. Like, for example, you will see Annie just jumping with these ideas, while NI is taking hours just to derive this one best conclusion. It's not that we are slower or more stupid, it's just that we need more time, because we are selecting out of, like, subconsciously out of all these options, the one best option. For example, from the cake story, of course I thought about milk, about chocolate, but I was thinking more also about probability, you know. Milk is milk, chocolate is chocolate, so probably it was me, you know. So don't get confused. Subconsciously, for example, for INFJs, shadow is actually an FP. Then we have, you know, subconscious, super ego. I'm not going to talk too much into details, but we actually have all functions, and you're using subconsciously all these functions, but, you know, consciously you see only one thing present. So for them, it's the same thing. So yeah, I would say that in terms of FI, they are more, let's say, they can come across more as selfish, because they are really putting a lot of value on the way how they feel. And you will usually hear from them, let's focus on how I feel. And for us, it's natural. Like, we are already focused on how other people feel with our FE. So for us, it's natural. So I don't even see a lot of conflicts there, because for us, so this is so called, I think, giver receiver, where they are like more receivers, we are more givers. We are more able to adapt to their feelings, to create a harmony. You know, for us, harmony is much more important than, you know, how, for example, I'm feeling. But sometimes it can be bad even for them, because you, in trying to make a harmonious environment, you are forgetting that you are also a factor in a relationship, for example. And just by trying to you know, make them feel great, you are you know, suppressing your own emotions, and, you know, you cannot do it in the long term. You will just explode. So FE will always explode. It will also pass, like the things that, you know, FE has explained, it comes and goes. So you have this explosion of emotions, and then, you know, after 2 hours, it's okay. It's almost like it never happened. FI, it's different, because they are triggered less easily, but also the feeling stays with them longer. So I would say, you know, as I said, it runs deeper. Like, you can see, I can see it with my brother, with other ENFPs. They're really sensitive, and that's the sense, and you need to, I mean, you need to worry, not worry, you need to be careful about stepping the boundaries because they can get really defensive. And that's how you see that they're actually not thinkers, because in a fights, rather than when you present them, for example, with some inconsistencies, like logical inconsistencies, they will still be more like, okay, but this is how I was feeling, you know, these are my feelings, so you cannot do this, you know. So they can get really defensive. That's something that's new to us, because we're not sensitive in that terms. Like, we are sensitive more like to when we see some injustice, like, you know, somebody is being hurt, like feelings are being hurt, or we will get more defensive when we see that a harmony, you know, of the group is being interrupted. So I think that, you know, that's something that you need to be careful about, you know, really not stepping the boundaries there, which they will of course show you their boundaries, but you actually should do the same thing, because of what I was saying. If you don't do it, then they will think maybe you weren't authentic. It's not that you weren't authentic, you maybe were just afraid of showing it because of this harmony thing, but actually you should do it. It will benefit you. It will, you know, you have to have boundaries. That's very important, not only with ENFPs, but generally. For example, in my video with ENFJs, I told you how important is that, especially with FP users, dominant users, because they will really go attack you, as long as they see they can go, you know, kind of go with that. So you need to create boundaries here. Yeah, then, so for now, the most important, being open, having boundaries. Then I will say, there is this thing of thinking. I don't see many conflicts there, because again, it's completely different language there. I mean, they're more about extroverted, logical things, and we are more about our own system. So we are more about, look at the way I think, you know, forget all these people, look at the way I think. So, you know, they will be like, okay, yeah, it might be interesting. They might even think, okay, yeah, but it's not really logical. They might say it or really don't say it. They don't care at the end, you know, they don't care too much. I mean, that's something with thinking functions. For both of us, it's hidden agenda. So hidden agenda is something you want to be perceived as something, although you're not. So when you see them trying to be very logical, but if you had opportunity to ever be with really logical people, like with people who, I wouldn't say even more logical, but people who value logic more, who value logic over the feelings, over the harmony, over their own feelings, then you can understand that there is a difference. So even if they say something that can hurt you, maybe in that sense, you really can really you don't really have many problems with that, because it's not at the end what you value. So thinking is usually not a function where we connect. It's rather things where we kind of have this exchange. There's not too much of a logic, not too much of a conflict. And that's very interesting, because I think that's the benefit of people not having similar functions. Because if people of not having the same functions, because if he says something that you know, that I can see it's different from the way I see it, but it's so new, I'm so focused on just trying to understand what this person is saying, I don't even have a time to try to shift, you know, or capability of shift to his language and then say something that could actually cause the conflict. So it's interesting that then you actually see less conflict in people who have different functions than people who have same function. So for example, you have ENFP and ENTJ, and ENFP is trying to preach ENTJ with their TE. Like, ENTJ can own them very easily, or ESTJ, because they can, first of all, very clearly see the inconsistency in their logics, and they can actually then use their TE to possibly even hurt their feelings or stuff. So because they don't have really a notion of what could hurt them, and even if they hurt them, they really don't care, because the most important thing for them is the truth, is their TE thing. So there you can really see, okay, they're not so logical at all. So I don't think this really just very beneficial exchange. I don't really see a lot of conflicts here. So another thing what I wanted to say is so apart from being open for INFJs and apart from having boundaries, you need to understand that there are still extroverts, we are introverts. So there is this energy management sometimes problem that can occur. For example, I don't know, if my brother, for example, we are watching a game, or we are, I don't know, drinking coffee and stuff, and then he says, hey, can I maybe, you know, invite some friends, because, you know, he really didn't mean that in terms of, you know, just shifting his focus for me, but, you know, that's natural for him. He wants to have his friends here, so also he can have me and stuff. So that's typical, you know, they want to have, they want to be surrounded by people. They're extroverts, and they feel very energized when they're surrounded by people. It's not something you should take personally, but you also need to understand that it's okay actually to say no. It's okay to say, okay, yeah, but guys, you know, I mean, not like that, I'm an introvert, but, you know, now I want to have my peace. I think it's important that you have a mutual understanding of him wanting to be surrounded by people, you accepting that and letting him have this freedom, of course, but also him accepting that we need more energy, we need more time for ourselves to re-energize. And as long as they are accepting our introverted nature and we are accepting their extroverted nature, are also, that thing could be also beneficial, and also they can kind of pull us out of their shell, of our shells, and we can again make them a little bit maybe more less scattered with all that energy they have, and waste of energy. Yeah, and my last point would be, because there are like all these differences that I mentioned, sometimes what happens is that us being a judgers, we usually for example, we engage with in a conversation less, because we only by looking at a person we already have a certain judgment. So you know, it's just natural for us more than for them. There's a lot more judgment going there. I see, for example, when I talk about, I don't know, like people, I can see with ENFPs that I have a lot more judgmental sometimes thoughts, you know, that I'm trying to box people. It's this combination, I think, of NI trying to make a pattern and FE, like having this external emotional logic, like, you know, we know what's moral in society, kind of norms, according to the societal norms. So we kind of tend to build boxes. Like this very interesting situation. Like, I was traveling somewhere, and then I asked the person, okay, how are the people here? He was like, you know, all people are different. I'm like, oh God, this is not what I want, because I want this one pattern, you know, I want this one answer. Okay, people are like this, so I can actually box them. So there's a much more judgment. It's not necessarily wrong. It does have its benefit. Like, I actually grow and learn from the past, and I actually apply this knowledge to build these boxes or these patterns. And they more or less do the same. Like, they also have the patterns, but because they're much more like branched in their intuition, they are more open for people, I would say. And they're just, you know, even if they don't think somebody is very interesting, you know, they will still approach it, because, you know, it's you can see it's not too much judgment, you know, going there. So that's one natural difference. And sometimes we can see that they can come across as too scattered, or maybe messy, you know, maybe their room is messy or stuff. So I think it's important, really important, that you understand that ENFPs really like freedom. They're very authentic people, and they really don't like being preached about how they should live. So even if you have maybe some small problems with the way, you know, they maybe, I don't know, deal with people, or maybe their room or stuff, you shouldn't be really trying to preach them, trying to tell them how to live their lives, because again, this FI thing, then you really might hurt their feelings. I think that's very important always to keep in mind, that it's a very, very important for them to really feel appreciated, and they will not let you like to preach them. So as long as you accept them, as long as you accept the differences that you guys have, you can have an amazing time. Really, some ENFPs I met have completely, like, they succeeded like no other type to really change my perspective, to really even change my, I would say, life direction. So I think that it's extremely beneficial, and yes, somehow sometimes also challenging relationship, but again, I can see from all these things much more benefit that actually than actually negative sides. So yeah, I can see that this video is very long. Thank you for sitting through, and again, write me in comments if you know any ENFP, or, you know, if you just want maybe to share your experience with ENFPs. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a beautiful day, and yeah, See you in my next video.